Hey, so I thought it would be fun for us to share one of my favorite rituals with you, and that is processing flowers. I'm crazy about that, and I love to get my flowers ready for arranging. And so typically, when I would travel and we would go for live events, I get there a day early so that I can get to the flowers and I can go through them and process them. And I'm really a fanatic about it. I have to be honest with you that I really, really am particular about the way my flowers are touched and handled. I've had experiences where people have processed the flowers for me, and it's a nightmare. Because I think that people just don't take the time and care like they should about the process of care and handling. I was raised on that. My dad was the president of the Society of American Florists, and we were developing the cold chain. George Stobbe was developing the cold chain at that time. And it was just important because every day we would get flowers at the store, and I was in charge of processing them. So those cold chain processes were for lack of a better word, beat into me. And I don't mean that bad, but it's just that every day I was doing that. And I loved it. I really, truly love it. I have a really good friend, Joe Smith, rest in peace, Joe. He used to say, JJ, there's nothing better than processing flowers. And I had that same feeling about it. And I would help him with big events and go in and help him process the flowers. And I just love that. It's a ritual for me. And I know that this year we're going to talk a lot about rituals because they're on my mind. Okay. And it's something that we're going to incorporate into season 4 of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom that will be coming in 2022. And I just like the process of being present for something. And that's what I want you to do is it shouldn't be mindless for you to process flowers. You need to be present for it, and you need to be ready for it, and you need to make sure that you are doing everything for your flowers so they will last longer. As an example, yesterday, I cleaned out vases and got rid of the bouquets that I had in the house. They had been in my house for 2 weeks, 2 full weeks. I picked them up on the 11th. You have seen some of those videos right here on YouTube about those arrangements that I made. And finally, yesterday, I tossed what was left. I shouldn't say that. I have 2 arrangements that I made that are still left from those. And they have chrysanthemums and carnations in them because chrysanthemums and carnations are a great value for you because they last so long. So I remade those arrangements, cleaned out my vases for putting these flowers in. And then this morning, got up early, put on my mask, got all warmed up. It's cold outside. It was 29 this morning. And I went to the wholesale house to my friend Angie over at Kennecott and walked through their coolers and picked out the flowers that I wanted. Now, I took my own bucket. So I took this bucket right here, like this, okay? I took that bucket and I filled it up with 3 gallons of cold water from my house. And then I put in 3 squirts of my Chrysler Professional 3. Okay. And so I took that with me so that I could place my flowers directly into water at the wholesale house and then bring them back home so that they didn't sit out of water, except for my tulips. Sorry. My tulips did not go into water. Okay. I brought them dry. And so then now I have other buckets here. And so the other thing about this bucket that you're going to notice is it's very tight. There's lots of stuff in it, too much stuff in it. So I have to spread it out. So I have a shorter Percona here. I love this one. This is a little short one of my favorites. My Perconas are made by Pagter. And my friend Kathy Albanese always works with me on that. And I love my Perconas. And I like them to be black because then they look pretty, but I also make sure that I scrub them out with soap and water or even DCD. I love DCD and I clean it with that, or bucket cleaner from Chrysler is great as well. So what we're going to do is this Chrysler, I have 1 gallon in here. So 1 pump. My 1 pump didn't come out very quickly at first, so I gave it a little extra squirt. This one has 2 gallons. Ice cold water. Okay. There we go. Much better. And I just let it drip out a little bit inside there because I don't like to have it drip off onto the table and then I have to clean up the little sugary mess. But it's great. Okay. So Chrysler Professional 3. You'll notice I'm not going in to Chrysler Professional 2. I'm not using 1. I'm using 3 because 3 is a special formula that makes your flowers hydrate and open. It intensifies the color. It makes the bloom get bigger. It has sugars inside that are going to help feed the flowers, because when we cut those flowers, we've cut them off of their nutrition source. And so the water needs to replace that nutrition. So super important that we do that, okay? So I have those up here, and then this, of course, has it in it as well. And we're going to go through each of these individual things. Now, my ritual is that I come home from the flower cellar. I get them all set up here in the studio. I got myself a cup of coffee because I love my coffee, all right? And so we're going to have coffee. If we weren't on taping this for you, I would have music on in the background. Because A, music is good for my soul, but it's also good for my flower soul. Flowers and plants enjoy music as well. This little plant right here loves music, right? Not acid rock or anything like that. And you'll learn more about that actually in season 3 of Life in Bloom. We have a whole show coming up about houseplants, and we talk about how music is productive for them. But no acid rock, no heavy metal. That is really kind of hard on them. They kind of prefer classical music or smooth jazz. But I'm sure that they would listen along to the 80s or the 90s or, you know, the 70s or whatever you want to listen to. The plants are going to be enjoying that just like you would. So I would do that. Dogs are running around and stuff, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to process these flowers. And I use that term processing. Okay. So I guess that's probably a formal flower term, because I don't know if I was telling just a person off the street, I'm going to process my flowers, so they'd probably be like, what do you mean? And so it's the act of implementing the care and handling necessary to make sure that my flowers thrive. So when I say processing, that's what I mean. So that you know, okay? So we're gonna do that. I don't really need my turntable, okay? So I'm gonna get him out of here. And I do have a trash can down here, okay? So that I can clean up and get stems where they need to go. So now we're going to talk about cutting tools that we're going to use. I have my Swiss Army knife that is sharpened. I have my Dram bypass cutter, which is my favorite go-to tool. This is a red one. Part of the Color Point series. They come in 6 colors. And here is the Color Point compact pruner, smaller, a little more delicate for people's hands. I use it not only for cutting delicate stems and when I want to do precision cutting, but I also use it for like bonsai and things like that. So I really do like this one. I used it this weekend to trim my celery. So that's how much I love these. I'm using them for cooking as well as for my flowers too. So I know we are already 8 minutes into this because Jay's talking, but now we're going to talk about flowers. And this is going to be a process because I'm going to talk about each individual one, and each different flower takes different processing, takes different care and handling. So it's not a one size fits all. So I want you to be aware of that too. So, I hope you have your cup of coffee so that you can sit down and you can listen through this with me. And we're going to go through what I bought today. Okay. So my first thing I'm going to talk about is, let's talk about the tulips since they are not in water. Now, these guys just came in a box today, and look at how straight and flat they are. They were dry packed. And what dry packing means is that they are placed in a box just like this. They have no moisture on the end, and they're in the box dry, and that's how they travel from their point of origin to the destination at the flower cellar. These guys were in a box that was closed. You can see they're kind of limp, okay? Look at, they're a little bit limp. This one was from a box that had been open in the cooler for a little while, and look at it, it's starting to curve up, okay? That's because they are phototropic, and tulips are always going to grow towards the light. And so if they lay down too long, they will start to turn up. My friend Lane DeVries at Sun Valley, they pack their tulips upright dry in a box, which is really good because then there's no phototropic curve that occurs. Okay, so I think that's an important thought to just think about, all right? Now, tulips are going to open and they're going to color up fast, right? And so with these, they've got a little callus on the end. If I wanted to slow these down, I might not cut them, but I'm still going to cut them because if I want to hold them for a little while longer, I could also hold them dry in the refrigerator with no water and dry, you know, and then that would be okay. They have two little bands here. I'm going to cut one of the little bands. You could take them both off if you wanted to. Sure, we can take them both off. That's a good idea. But now what you're going to notice is I'm going to leave them in this cellophane, and I'm going to put them immediately into my short bucket. Now, I'm going to leave that cellophane on there so that that encourages them to grow straight. Also, what's going to happen is they are going to grow towards this window because that's the available light here. If I wanted to straighten them up a lot, I could bring a light in or turn on an overhead light and place them directly under that overhead light, and that will help them straighten up. It's also going to make them color up and for the blooms to get bigger. Now, again, super advantage to Chrysal Professional 3 or bulb food. Bulb food is also another variety. It has a high sugar content, and so it really helps those tulips because these are parrot tulips. These are red parrot tulips. So they're going to get big and fluffy and unfurl and have all that beautiful petals. And those blooms are probably going to get about that big. It takes a lot of sugar to get that done. So that's why I love my Chrysal Professional 3, because it has a good quantity of sugar inside there. Okay, so now next I have pom-poms. These are green Kermit pom-poms. These are from Benchmark Growers. I'm crazy about chrysanthemums. This is the other thing I have this week that is still thriving in my house. 2 weeks later, my beautiful green pom-poms are still thriving. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take the bags off of them, and then I'm going to cut the rubber bands down here so we can get rid of those rubber bands. And then what you're going to notice is on this stem, now look at, the water has to go from here to here. I don't really need this to be this long for the projects I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip off that foliage. And I just use my hand to do that. I love this because this reminds me of when I was a little kid and we grew the pom-poms in the greenhouses. Pom-poms, P-O-M-P-O-N-S, pom-poms. And we would grow them and we would cut them, and then you'd bring them in and you'd strip off the foliage so you could make a nice cut on them. And I'm just making sure that I'm pulling off all of the leaves that are going to fall below the water line, okay? And I like doing it with my hand. Now, some people might not. Your hand gets a little bit green. The fragrance from doing this smells just like chrysanthemums. And I love that part of it, right? It's part of the process. And I don't care. In my business, if I had 500 bunches of pom-poms, I would do them like this too. Because I want to look at them. If I'm going through here and I see one that is a mess, or it has some disease on it, or has a problem, I want to peel it out of there and get rid of it. If I have any broken blooms, I want to remove those right now, because there's no sense in me hydrating something that is not going to work for me. I need to get rid of it now. And that's part of dealing with a perishable product, okay? Sometimes you're going to have a flower in there that's not going to be good. We may have one today. I don't know. We'll see, okay? But when I do, that's okay. That's part of it. When you buy a roast at the grocery store, you try and pick out the best one you can, but you might get home and there might be a big piece of fat on the end you're going to cut off, right? You never know. So it's always good to go through the process, be present for this process, and look at your flowers. So now those guys are all ready to go. I do not need them this long. I probably only need them about this long. And that means that my water does not have to travel up an extra 6 to 8 inches to get to these flowers, okay? So then they're gonna go right back here into my bucket. Now you'll notice that they wanna kind of head off towards the side. And when I did this right now, I had one leaf that fell in there. See that little culprit? That will cause bacteria in my water, so I want to get rid of it. I don't want it down inside there. So I'm always checking my flowers. I'm always checking in the water to make sure that there's not stuff inside there. Because if there is, it's going to make the flowers not last as long as they possibly can. My friend Wayne Noel asked the other day, how often do you need to change the water on your arrangements? If you've processed your flowers correctly, taken them out, gotten them ready, prepared them for the care and handling processes that you use, you're much less likely to have to change the water. And if you're using a great flower nutrient like Chrysler Professional 3, that's also going to make sure that you're going to be able to do that. So I think that's great. All right, let's go to a next one. Now, you're also going to notice that I'm going to put like flowers together in this vase. So I have chrysanthemums in there. I'm going to do some, these are little Matsumoto asters. I love them. Somewhere around here. See, and you know, this is what I do sometimes is this is a very good J trick. Threw my knife away. All right, because I grabbed all those leaves and threw them away. So keep track of them. That's why it would never be good to have a green knife. You can always spot the red knife. And better yet, you can spot like the blue ones and the yellow ones that they make from Swiss Army too. So it's always good. Okay, so I'm going to use my compact pruner. I'm going to trim the rubber bands. This is Matsumoto asters. Okay, so I'm going to open up the sleeve. And okay, look, really good example. Okay, of what we just talked about. Broken stem here. Broken flower that fell into the trash. Okay, oh, another broken flower right there. Okay, now let's look at this for half a sec. Okay, this one doesn't have a flower on it anymore. So I'm cutting him off because I don't need to process that one. Okay, I don't need to send flower nutrients and time and effort and energy up to that one. It's just going to go away. Okay, here's another one. Okay, everybody's good. I'm going to pop off any leaves that might look nasty. Here we go. Okay, another one. No flower. No sense in having that take up space in my bucket and pull energy from my other flowers. Okay, one more. There we go. Okay. So now this is going to thrive. It's going to do much better because everybody now is all there. I've cut off the stems that we didn't need. I'm going to give this, and as I'm cutting down here, I'm giving it a fresh slanted cut. And I'm going to go immediately into my water. Do not, it's a really good thing. When I was a kid, we used to do this all the time, and it was bad for the flowers, and I'm just sharing it as a note. So pretend this is a bunch of flowers, okay? You don't want to cut it straight, number one. You want to cut it at an angle, so everybody has an angled cut. Then we would lay them here until we got a whole bunch together and then put them in a bucket. They need to immediately go into a bucket. Always immediately go into a bucket. Immediately go into a bucket. Do I have to say it again? Immediately go into a bucket. All right? Because you don't want this drying out and sucking up air. You want it to go into that immediately. Now, look at, I've got those two little guys. Those are going to be great little floating flowers, okay? They're still great. They're still good looking. I'm going to set them over here for right now with any other extra ones, and we'll have a discussion about that in a little bit. Okay, all three tools are still here on the table. Really good, Jay. All right, we'll do some Hypericum next. I love Hypericum. I always pick it up. I think it's a great accent flower. I like accent flower much better than filler flower. You fill up your gas tank. You don't fill up your flower arrangement. You accent your flower arrangement. So then, again, I want to look through here and I want to see what's going on. Okay, so let's see. Broken leaf needs to go away. Good. This one has some little brown leaves on it and a couple of broken little heads. Okay. More broken heads. Okay, go there. Little broken head. Couple leaves off. Over there. Good. couple little nasty looking leaves, and look at, there's one. I don't know if you can see him. Can you see him? There's one little brown Hypericum in there. I'm going to get rid of him. Okay. Everybody's good there. Here, I got a little bit of nastiness. Look at that. Okay. Nastiness on there. So that's why we go through here, because if I put this in a bucket with other flowers and it's touching those and that nastiness is next to those other flowers, it's going to make the other flowers get nasty faster. Really simple, okay? And these are moisture laden. They are shipped from all corners of the world, even if they're coming from a local flower farm. You never know what you're going to have. And so that's why you go through them and look at them to make sure everybody's okay. Now, that brings me to the next topic, because I bought some stock today, and they were just unpacking the stock and processing it, just getting it ready and putting it into buckets. I bought some peach, okay, and I bought some lavender. Now, here's something interesting about this. I want to show this to you, is that this sleeve, I don't know if you can see it, it has holes in it. It isn't, it's the sleeve it has little tiny holes all along there. And the reason for that is stock transpires moisture very quickly. And so once it's cut in the field and then it's bundled and placed in a box, it starts to warm up on transportation. My friends at Ocean View, who were the closed caption sponsors for season 2 of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, developed a process where they would take the stock and they would suck out all the warm air and put back in cold air that was 33 degrees. Okay. Then as they traveled, they would not warm up as quickly. But because stock have these little paper thin florets, they can degrade and generate heat very quickly. So the one thing you want to remember about stock is once I get it home, I don't wait. I want to make sure that I open it up. I want to make sure that I get the sleeve off and I get it into water. Okay. Extremely important that I do all of those things. I also want to check and see if there's any extra foliage on here that I'm not going to need. And I'm going to do that. When I'm touching this foliage right now, I can tell that it's very dehydrated. These just came in today. They were packed dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a fresh angled cut, and they're going to go immediately into my water. Okay. And again here, now these have been stripped a little bit further down. I'm going to check everybody up in here, look at them all to make sure that I don't have one on the inside that might have some mold or something like that on it. If it does, you know, that happens sometimes, okay? We'd like to think that that they're always perfect. But again, we're dealing with a perishable product, right? So I wanted to check that, but these, again, these guys are all perfect. Cut at an angle and going into a bucket, okay? Now, you're going to notice too, I want to put those so that they're not all wadded up together in one spot. There's air movement here. And right now, this bucket's too close to that wall. There we go. That's going to be better. I don't want it laying against a wall, because what happens is now, as I cut those flowers, they're going to suck up moisture. As they suck that moisture up, they're going to create photosynthesis. As they're creating photosynthesis, they're sucking water up into the flowers, and the flowers are transpiring water off. They're like sweating almost, okay? Except they're transpiring, okay? Now, if they're all bundled together and they have a sleeve wrapped around them, all that moisture is going to get trapped in there and they're going to rot. Okay? That's exactly what's going to happen. So the best thing for stock and roses is to get them out of their package and get them opened up and get air movement around them. Now look, I got another little stock blossom right here. I'm going to set him over there by the other ones. Okay? That'll be a fun thing for later on. Okay, so again, I've got all this stuff going to go into my trash can. 3 tools are here. There we go. I hope you're enjoying this process because I love it. And I could go, there are days in my store that I would stand there and process flowers all day long. Loved it. Crazy about processing those flowers. I just love that. And typically what would happen is when I would go to shows, they would always put me last in the program because they were like, oh, people will stay to watch you. And that's very nice and very kind, and it's true. But then what that meant is that I would have to be there at the beginning of the event. I would have to be there and have my flowers processed, and I would have to make sure that my flowers stayed nice till the end of the event. And many times these are events that are in hotels on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm getting there on Wednesday processing my flowers. They need to last till Sunday. There's no coolers. There's no air. Sometimes there's air conditioning. Sometimes there's not. And so everybody would always come by and say, your flowers look so beautiful. Of course, because I took care of them. Taking care of them is so important, just so important. So here are my little Gerbers. Now look at this is my fault because I did this, and I can tell that I did this right here when I was packing everybody in here. Look at that little Gerber daisy on the end. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see because it's just too bright. But this little guy got bent over the edge of the cardboard in my little travel here. So what I'm gonna do is I can use him for something where he doesn't need to be perfect. I'm going to slip him out of here. I don't know. Let's see if you can see him. Can you see that? If I go closer, if I go further away, no. Bruises on one side. Toot, toot, toot. A whole bunch of them. That was me not being careful. Putting too many flowers in a bucket. That's what it was. Okay. So, yeah. So he's got a little bit of damage on there. I'm plucking a couple of those out, but if I pull them all out, he's gonna have a space. Well, and you know what? Those aren't pretty, so I got to pull them out. So now he looks like this, right? But I can use him where I can group him with another flower, and that will be great. Okay. So I'm gonna go there. Now I want these Gerberas are interesting and different, okay? Because I want to kind of keep them perfect. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here with my compact pruner, and I'm going to cut every single one of these at an angle. And then I'm going to put the whole bunch in my bucket like that. Okay. So that they're going to stay good. I have a little project this week where I'm going to do floating flowers. Okay. And so those are for the floaters, and I want to make sure that they stay nice for right now. So I just want to make sure that they were already hydrated at the wholesale house. They were already there at my flower cellar in their bag. They'd already been cut. They were doing well. And so I took them and put them right into my bucket of water. So they really haven't been out of water for any length of time. But again, it's always a good idea to give them another cut. So now what I have over here is probably going to end up back in this bucket. Oh, except for these guys. They can go in the buckets with the tulips over here. That would be wonderful. Now look at my little tulips. They're moving around over here. Okay, I want to make sure that they continue to stand up straight. I got this today. I had gotten some white Ornithogalum, a Star of Bethlehem, and I had them on my desk for 2 weeks. They were just beautiful because I love Ornithogalum, really effortless, and they just open all the way to the end. But this is the orange variety. Look at how pretty that is. Okay, so I'm going to cut the bands on them, and then I'm just going to go through here. I'm going to give everybody a fresh slanted cut. And they're going to go in this bucket right here. Then, okay, so typically when you're looking at a flower cellar too, you're going to see all sorts of different kinds of flowers. As I told you before, I've got some carnations here we're going to open up. And some beautiful butterfly ranunculus I'm going to show you. But, you're looking at those. And what I tell people is that chrysanthemums and carnations are my best investment. Carnations are my favorite flower. I love the way they smell. I love the way they look. They come in so many different colors, and they last a long time. I seriously just threw away yesterday 2 peppermint carnations that were from December 9th. Okay? Today's the 25th. So that was 9 minus 31 is 28. And no, that's not right. 9 minus 31 is See, this is why I had a teacher. Her name was Miss Farabee, and she was my math teacher. And I went in and cleaned her blackboards every day and told her how great she looked and how pretty she was. And she gave me a B minus in math instead of the D minus that I deserved. Okay, so from December 9th to January 25th, 2 carnations still sitting in their vase, beautiful. That's a long time. That's a long time. Okay. So when I was at the wholesale house this morning, I digress, and my coffee's kicking in, right? So I decided I always like to get something special when I'm there too. And certain flowers are more money than other flowers. That's what they are. And so Angie was just opening a box from Amsterdam and pulling out this. And it is fresh lilac. Isn't that pretty? And it's January 25th. So I got the fresh lilac. It was still expensive, but it's beautiful. And I got it. I'm gonna put it on Kelly's desk. I think that's important. And you know what? Okay, so here now, this is very, very important. And so you're going to have to put up with me a little bit here, because inside this package, you are going to see there's a little packet. Extra flower boost freshness from my friends at Kreisel. This is specific lilac flower nutrient just for lilacs. They do not go in our other buckets. This one goes in this bucket, and this is for a liter of water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up this liter of water. I am going to cut these stems. I am not going to pound them with a hammer. Never do that. I don't care. Martha Stewart did it on television one time, just recently with Stephen Colbert. The only reason they pounded flower stems with a hammer was to make it be funny. It isn't funny. It isn't helpful. It does not work. If you pound your hand with a hammer, it will not work. Okay? It's same thing goes with these stems. You want to cut them off at a 45-degree angle, and we're going to use a liter of this. So I'm going to put them in a vase with a liter of this, and I'm going to put those in there. But I'm not going to do that on camera with you today, because I'm going to have to get another vase and all that kind of stuff. But I did want to show you that there's special flower nutrient that goes with this, okay? And I'm going to do that after we're done. Okay. So here are butterfly ranunculus. My friend Lane grows these at Sun Valley, and I just love them. They are such a great investment, because every single one of these blooms is going to open up. Every single one of those little tiny buds like that, they're all going to bloom. And I had these on the table in a vase last year for 3 weeks. They were just incredible. And I would just go through every day and deadhead. And it was kind of like having the garden, right? And so I love them. They come in different colors. This little stem is broken right here. Look at that. The little guy is busted off right there. So we're going to take him. I'm going to put him in our little pile over here of fun stuff. Okay. And then I'm going to go through here and cut everybody at an angle. Now, sometimes there's a stem up inside there that isn't the same length as everybody else. Make sure you get all of them cut and put them all in there together. Okay. So that's going to go in this bucket back here. Now, and everybody was envious of my purple bucket. We were talking about it in the Purple Passion video the other day. Where did I get the purple percona? And I don't know if they still do, but they used to make purple perconas for David Austin roses. And so when I got some David Austin roses, I have taken care of my purple ones, because then I always know that the purple ones are mine, right? So I can always make sure I take care of them. So when I went, I picked up different color carnations today. I got this one. It's a creamy peach. I got a miniature one that's pink. I got this one. This one's name is called Jelly. And it's peach and orange. Isn't that pretty? I love this one. This one is actually in Jay's Bouquets. It is a yellow with a red stripe edge on it. And then there's this guy over here, and he is kind of a purple lace color. So I thought all of those are great. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut first. We're going to cut all of our bindings off of our carnations. And when I picked these up, all of these were dry. They were dry packed again, because that's the way that they ship carnations, okay? So everybody was dry. And I'm just looking through here to make sure everybody looks good. No broken stems or anything. And so they are really going to appreciate my Chrysal Professional 3. Cutting them at an angle. And I'm also kind of careful when I go through here because I don't like to cut things. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you this because this is important, okay? Okay, come here. See how there's the little joints in those stems? You want to cut in between those joints, not at a joint. So if any of my cuts were at the joint, I want to make sure that I'm cutting in between a joint because they don't really take up moisture through that joint very well. Okay, so those are going to go in there. Now, the interesting thing about my carnations, these are a little bit more open. And so, you know, they are going to be, but it takes them a couple days to get going and get open. And so I like to get them in the water right away. And again, I'm looking for those joints in here. I got a couple because when I cut it as a bunch, I also stand them on the table like that and hit them a little bit so that the extra leaves fall out. Because carnations have a tendency to make the water a little nasty if you're not careful over a period of time. Okay, and now look, I've got 1, 2 broken ones. Okay, so they're going to come up. There's no sense in hydrating those. Okay, and they're broken like that. So I'm just going to cut them off here and here. Put them over in my pile. Okay, that's going to be my little floating project. And I have one more right here. Now, a lot of times, people also ask me about Chrysal Professional Glory. You know that I spray everything with Chrysal Professional Glory once I've created the arrangement. Many people want to spray it now. Don't. Because these flowers need to transpire right now. That's very important for them to transpire and to be able to take up water, produce photosynthesis, and get that all up inside them. Okay. Okay. Just dropping that off. Look at all this little leaves and stuff that are falling out of the bottom of this as I do that because that's important. I'm going to get rid of those. Don't want those in there floating in the water, causing problems with everybody. And also, I've got a couple here that I trimmed at the joint. So I want to make sure I get those fixed. Okay. And then they go into the water. Okay. And right now, just so that you know, so many of those look like this. Okay. Look at that. It's not very open at all. It's going to open up over the next couple days. And that's really important. It's going to have light and stuff so that they can do that. That's all very important. I don't think there is any benefit of you putting them in a very warm spot because what happens in a very warm spot is that they transpire faster. It can stress the flowers. It's not good. I think putting them in an area where they have plenty of light does a lot more good than warm air. Do not let air blow on them. I don't want a vent or a fan blowing on these right now. I want them to naturally transpire because as they're producing photosynthesis, they need the light for that. They're going to create suction, bring that food up into the flower, and the flower's going to get bigger. Okay, so super easy. I'm going to, as soon as we wrap this up, I'm going to take care of my lilacs and get those on Kelly's desk because I think he's going to like those. They smell so good. They smell like springtime. And we're supposed to get 4 inches of snow tonight. So there's that. So I hope that you enjoyed the process of processing, caring for our flowers, providing the proper care and handling our flowers need to thrive so that we can make beautiful flower arrangements. Again, I used ice cold water. I used my Chrysal Professional 3 for all my flowers, except for my lilacs. I'm going to use the special lilac. See, it's a special one from Chrysal. the freshness promise right here, extra days for your flowers. So I'm going to use that along with my lilacs. I'm going to give them a fresh cut and put them in 1 liter of water. I'm going to measure exactly. Super important. Okay, so now we've got beautiful flowers, and over the next couple of days, we're going to do some beautiful things with them. So I just wanted you to be able to see that and see our process and be present for our ritual of taking care of flowers. I hope you had a good time, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.